speaking of things that we went out and did, we went to a screening of The Wizard of Oz. Yeah, The Wizard of Oz. This was at the Stanford Theater, which I think I mentioned. It's a great... I have mentioned it before when we went to go see some other stuff. It is a theater that is it's around Stanford University, and they play a bunch of... Well, yeah, it's the Stanford Theater. They play a bunch of old classic movies. It's this big, beautiful theater house with like an organ and stuff. And on certain occasions, they'll have an actual organist like playing soundtrack and stuff. It's pretty neat. They were playing The Wizard of Oz. And so my dad, Kat, and I went to that. And it was a blast. I have not seen The Wizard of Oz in a while. I think since I was a kid. I remembered after the fact, I think Kat brought it up. She said, oh yeah, it's because of like Wicked or something. Or maybe before, I don't know. I completely forgot Wicked was coming out. Because I'm not tuned into that stuff. So it was obvious because apparently I think they've been playing it for the last 4 weeks. I was like, okay, yeah, it probably makes sense. They're cashing in on that Wicked money. So I think maybe the most memorable part of the experience happened before the film even started, because there was a nice little surprise. The curtains opened, and it was not The Wizard of Oz. They played a merry melody. That's right. The classic Merry Melodies cartoons. And as like a little intro, what would you call it? An intro short that would play before movies like they actually used to do. Apparently they still do play shorts before movies. That I've never seen that. I've never been to a theater where they played a short before a movie. And it's funny that it was this specific one because I was sitting next to the two perfect people. I was in the middle of both of them. The two perfect people for that to pop on screen for, because the moment that the Merry Melodies logo came in on either side of me, I heard, "Oh fuck yeah!" My dad and my girlfriend are both big Looney Tunes classic cartoons like Merry Melodies, that whole thing. They're both big fans of that. Both of them grew up watching those. And this one in particular was probably one of the most famous non-Looney Tunes ones that they ever did, which was what is it called? One Froggy Evening. That's right. That's the classic one of the frog with the top hat who go, "Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime girl." So it's a great short. It's just like a fun little 5-minute thing. It is genuinely pretty funny. I think it's aged very well. Very, very timeless humor. Really good time, great way to start it. And I realized I'd never actually seen the short before. You should go look it up. It's a fun little quick watch. And the beginning, essentially the premise of the short, I discovered was based off of a real thing that happened. Not with the dancing frog, but essentially the way that it starts is there's excuse me. I ate chili before this. I'm like burping up all my chili. They're demolishing some kind of building, and a guy notices that a pillar is hollow inside, and he looks inside and finds a box, and it's the box with the frog in it, and the frog wakes up and starts dancing, and then the gag becomes that he can't get the frog to dance when anyone's watching. And I realized that's based off of a real thing that happened. So I have the Wikipedia page up for it. I first learned this because of, I think, one of my favorite Instagram accounts, The Depths of Wikipedia, which is dedicated to weird, funny pages and amusing things from Wikipedia. This page it's on Ol Rip the Horned Toad. I'll just read a little bit of it. Ol Rip the Horned Toad died January 19th, 1929. Was a Texas horned lizard, commonly referred to as a horned toad or a horny toad, which supposedly survived a 31-year hibernation as an entombed animal following its exhumation from a cornerstone in Eastland, Texas on February 18th, 1928. Essentially what happened is that in 1897, there was a little boy, his name was Will Wood, who caught this horned toad, which he named Ol Rip, and he brought it to his father, who was his name Ernest E. Wood. And there was Ernest knew that so his son brings this toad to him. It's really more of a lizard. I don't know if it's classified as a toad. The technical name for it is that it's a lizard, which are lizards are reptiles. Are toads not reptiles? Hang on, are toads reptiles? Are toads amphibians? That's what I mean. Are toads amphibians? Frogs are amphibians, obviously. Toads are amphibians. They differ from most frogs because they have dry skin, warts, crusty on the eyes, and okay, I didn't realize that I always kind of imagined a toad as a dry land frog. They are separate families of animals. Let's learn a little bit about toads. In terms, both frogs and toads belong to the order Anura, which means without a tail. You got that right. So there are several families of animals, including Ranidae, which are referred to as true frogs. My true frogs in the audience. Can I get a what's up? And Buffonidae, which are referred to as true toads. True toads in the audience. It's like the Outcast song goes, "Hey ladies, what's froggier than being froggy? True toad." Other families of frogs and toads exist. Tree frogs are a different family of frogs than true frogs. I didn't know that. Tree frogs aren't real frogs? That's got to be a controversial opinion in the frog community. But these are similar groupings of species, and some are referred to certain regions of the world. Some differences. Frogs have long, strong hind legs that aid them in leaping. Toads have shorter hind legs, more suitable for walking. Behavioral differences. Frogs use their long, strong legs to leap into water. While when approached, toads are more likely to sit still and wait it out. They're straight chillers. That's actually a common thing, because apparently I think a lot of toads do hibernate. Toads are the straight chillers of the Anura order. Frogs spend more time in water, so their skin stays moist. Toads, on the other hand, spend more time on land and travel further from water. Interesting. All toads are poisonous while frogs are not. I didn't know that. Toads have parotoid glands behind their eyes that secrete toxins. These toxins permeate their skin, so you can come into contact with them if you pick them up, according to the Conserve Wildlife Federation of New Jersey. Most of the toxins are mild to humans, but you should always wash your hands thoroughly with soap and water after handling a toad. Interesting. They're all poisonous. They lay their eggs, and both of them lay their eggs in water. Yep. Okay. Interesting. I didn't realize. Hang on. Toads. Hang on. Toads in water. Adult toads spend little time in water and can tolerate much drier conditions than frogs. Maybe it's just they spend their very early life. They may remain in one area for long periods over the summer months. Interesting. There's like pond toads. Okay. Interesting. They can swim. Huh. Okay. Cool. So they do need to be around water, but they're chill with like straying away from it. The toads will spend most of their lives hanging out in fields or meadows, but they do need access to pools of water in order to breed. That makes more sense. Right, because they have to lay their eggs in water. I guess they start as tadpoles as well. I see. So they lay their eggs in water, so they need to be all around it. Okay. Anyway, talking about old Rip the horned toad, who might not even be a toad, as far as we know. Essentially, there was a tradition or an old wives' tale or something that horned toads can hibernate for many years. So essentially, he was like, let's test this. So reading from the article, the horned lizard was placed in a time capsule in a cornerstone of the Eastland Courthouse, along with memorabilia, including a Bible and a bottle of alcohol. 30 years later, during the Jazz Age, construction workers began to tear down the old courthouse, and town officials scheduled a public event to open the time capsule in mid-February 1928. So this was like kind of a little local media event. I believe they had... Did they get the original little boy? I don't know. Let's read. Okay, so a newspaperman named Boyce House wrote about the event itself. When the brick wall was pulled away from the cornerstone, the crowd rushed forward in its excitement, pressing so closely against a worker that he barely had room to ply his pick to break a layer of cement over the top of the stone. Then he lifted a sheet of metal underlying the cement. As this covering was raised, disclosing the cavity, Reverend F.E. Singleton, pastor of the Eastland Methodist Church, standing beside the cornerstone, leveled a finger and said, "There's the frog!" An oilman, Eugene Day, thrust his hand into the cavity and lifted a flat, dust-covered toad, which he handed to Reverend Mr. Singleton. The pastor handed the creature to Judge Pritchard, who dangled it with a hind leg that all might see. Suddenly, the other hind leg twitched. The frog was alive. That was written in 1928. The toad actually hibernated for 30 years with no food, no water, no sunlight, no nothing. Inside of like a little square. Honestly, kind of animal cruelty, but hey, it was the 1890s. What are you gonna do? So after this happened, this toad was genuinely like a news sensation. It survived for 30 years without water, sunlight, or oxygen. What the hell? I think this genuinely did change understandings of this species of animal. National fame, due to the extensive media coverage, Ol' Rip became a national celebrity. The docile lizard was transported to Dallas, Texas for public exhibition by Will Wood, the same individual who purportedly found the specimen as a boy in 1897. After this incident, Ol' Rip went on a national tour, and 40,000 spectators viewed him at the Zoological Garden in St. Louis, Missouri. Later that same year in New York City, motion pictures were produced with Will Wood introducing Ol' Rip, and quote-unquote, a bug catcher was paid 50 cents, equal to $8.87 in modern currency, each for the insects that the frog devoured to please the cameraman. Dude was getting paid a little under $10 to give the frog food, to feed the frog. The peak of Rip's fame occurred in May 1928, when during his national tour, the lizard was transported to Washington, D.C., where Texas Senator Earl Bradford Mayfield presented the specimen to President Calvin Coolidge. A bemused Coolidge reportedly declined to touch the horned toad and merely nudged it with his spectacles. Good, he knows that they're all poisonous. A newspaper article reported the incident. President Coolidge asked numerous questions concerning his celebrated guest, stroked the frog's back with his horn-rimmed glasses, and then President and Old Rip gazed steadily at each other for a full minute without a sound. Silent Cal had met his match. which was a nickname for Coolidge, Silent Cal. Death and... Oh, wait, hang on. As a consequence of the creature's immense fame, horned toads were sold as souvenirs at the 1928 Democratic National Convention in Houston, Texas, for $250, equivalent to $44 in 2023. Holy shit. The capture and export of horned toads for such sales resulted in the genus's precipitous decline in West Texas. They made it an endangered species. It was like the opposite of Jaws. According to Texas journalist Boyce House, so many horned toads were shipped out of West Texas that a Department of Agriculture bulletin foretold damage amounting to thousands of dollars if the export shipments did not stop, in as much as horned frogs preyed on insects that would devour local crops. They were exporting so many toads that they were fucking up the ecosystem because the toads would protect the crops. Wow. He was too popular. Soon after his national tour, Ol' Rip died of pneumonia on January 19th, 1929. He got pneumonia. He didn't even die of natural causes. After Ol' Rip's death, the specimen was kept in a tiny satin-lined casket provided by the National Casket Company and displayed in the lobby of the New Eastland Courthouse. Here's where it gets crazy. Decades later, in September 1961, Old Rip briefly disappeared from the museum exhibit, and a ransom note demanded $10,000, equivalent in today's money to almost $102,000, for his return. After a citywide search, the specimen was recovered. They fucked some people up for that. They stole the toad. They stole his body. That's gotta be... That's fucked up. That is fucked up. And they... You've defiled the corpse of our beloved toad. They totally broke someone's kneecaps for that. They just said he was recovered. A year later, in 1962, John Connolly visited the courthouse while running for governor of Texas for a publicity event. An impetuous Connolly lifted the embalmed creature by its hind leg, which abruptly detached. Good work, Connolly, you goofball. In 1972, Rip's body was again stolen. They stole it again. Soon after, the city of Eastland claimed they had somehow found the stolen specimen and returned the object to exhibition. However, museum visitors noted the recovered toad now inexplicably had 4 feet, while the original specimen only had 3 feet, presumably due to the earlier 1962 incident with John Connolly. They fake. It's like when you replace your kid's goldfish when it dies. That's not the real Old Rip. In 1976, an anonymous letter was sent to newspapers claiming the original 3-footed specimen, holy shit, was still in the thief's possession, and the city of Eastland had replaced the original specimen with a fake. Angry that, quote, the city of Eastland was building its future around a dried-up horned frog, unquote, the letter writer offered to pay $5,000, equivalent to almost $27,000 in today's money, to anyone who could prove the toad in the courthouse was truly Old Rip. Wow. Holy shit. And I guess it was never followed up on. They chickened out. They said, you got us. You called us out on our fake frog asses. Bunch of shams. Is it still there? Is it still in the courthouse? Or where is it? I don't know where it is. Hang on. What city is it again? Eastland, Texas. Old Rip. They have the Old Rip Plaza. They have a place name. They have a statue to him. Yep. They still got, oh my God, they got a fake body. That's crazy. They literally have this thing. Is it on display? Yep, it is still on display. Incredible. If I ever visit Eastland, Texas, I am checking out Old Rip. Dude, their logo has him in it. Tiny towns are hilarious because they take the one interesting thing that ever happened there and they're like, this is my whole identity. This is all I'm going to talk about now. This is all I'm ever going to, this is what I'm about. Oh my God. Old Rip. What a crazy story. Anyway, The Wizard of Oz was great. It is a great movie for kids. You should take your kids to it. You should show your kids great, classic, fun, inventive, creative movies.